Your game day camera bag?
What I have in my game day camera bag,
Yeah.
or my actual bag itself.
What's the difference?
Do you want to know what kind of knapsack I use, or you want to know what's in my camera bag?
Well, don't get me started on my bag. I never remember. All right, welcome to the latest episode of Game Day Glare. My name is Ich. I am, as usual, with my buddy Lance. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, E. I'm doing good. You ready for today's topic?
Yes, it's a big one. 2025 is still kind of newish. So, it's good opportunity to talk about gear, camera bags, what's in them. What do we bring? What do we leave behind? Especially what in this year at this point in time where technology and equipment and all these things are like, what's important and what isn't, basically. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, and it's also what we get asked all the time. What camera should I get? What should I do? What are you using? So we figured, we'll go through our camera bags, we'll go through gear that we want to add to it, and we'll kind of start that conversation, because it's something that we have dabbled in throughout this podcast. We have mentioned gear that we have in that, but we never really laid out, what we bring to a shoot, what our preferences are, and what we're usually carrying on us, because everybody's camera bag's a little bit different, and it's nice to see what other people have in their camera bags, but the one thing that affects your camera bag the most is budget. Your budget
for sure.
affects your camera bag. So
Yeah, definitely.
we're gonna see who has the bigger budget, E or me. Okay, that's what we're gonna see today.
Yeah, but sometimes, with that, there's also when did you start building your kit? Because you can build a good kit over time, but if you're just starting, obviously you're not buying everything. Yeah, some people have the money to do it, but yeah, usually it takes a few years to build it the way you like it, sort of thing.
Building your camera kit, though, is one of those things that I feel like you're never done building. There's always something new you want to add in or upgrade or take away, or there's the equipment that you buy sometimes that you don't end up using. And you're like, oh, why did I put this in my camera bag? So we'll hopefully, we'll discuss some of our favorite purchases, but even on purchases that, hey, maybe I shouldn't have bought that.
Do you want to go first with your game day camera bag?
What I have in my game day camera bag,
Yeah.
or my actual bag itself.
What's the difference?
Do you want to know what kind of knapsack I use, or you want to know what's in my camera bag?
Well, don't get me started on my bag. I never remember.
I know. You're gonna have to go over to the side, pull it up, remember the name.
Show my sweatpants.
So obviously, like, I do pack my camera bag differently depending on my shoot. I try to pack as light as possible. Now that doesn't always happen, because I seem to always put extra batteries or extra memory cards or extra lights or something always in my camera bag. But I'll start with so my bag is the Peter McKinnon 35-liter nomadic. That is my go-to knapsack. Honestly, it's pricey, but I feel like it's really worth it. It's durable. Everything is customizable inside, but I really feel the quality in that bag. So that was a purchase that I was lucky I didn't have to pay for it full price, but I would pay for it full price because I feel like the value is there. And I'm one of those people that I'm going to buy what is going to last me the longest, even though sometimes it is a little bit pricey. I'd rather buy one expensive bag that's going to last me a couple years than buy a cheaper bag that's not going to last as long, with zippers breaking and stuff like that. So that's why I went with that bag. Now, my daily shooters, everyone wants to know, is cameras. So my go-to camera is the A7 IV. And people always wonder, like, why aren't you using FX3? I did have an A7S III. It got stolen it was a work thing. Anyway, it got stolen. I ended up getting an A7 IV on my own. The reason why I went with the A7 IV is because I do take pictures also for clients. And that was a great hybrid camera for that, with 33 megapixels. And it pretty much has the same sensor as the A7S III. The only downside to it is when I shoot 60 or high or 60, it doesn't do 120. It does 120 at 1080, but it doesn't do 120 in 4K. So I shoot 60 anyway. But when you're in 60, it's crop. But I use that to my advantage when I'm doing sports, because if I have a 28 to 75, well, it's a 1.5 crop. So now I'm zoomed in a little bit more. So I actually like that feature. So that's why I stick to that camera. I am upgrading to an FX3 also as my second cam. The reason why I'm going with FX3 is because it's a workhorse. I don't have to worry about overheating, and it gives me the benefits
Wait,
that
did you
my
say you have an
A74.
FX3 as your second cam?
No, I'm going to get it as a second camera. I'm going to get an FX3 as a second camera.
Yeah, but like I would think that the
No, it's
FX3
going
would
to
be your
become my
main
A camera.
camera and the other one. Oh, okay, like okay.
No, okay, let me reword it. I'm getting it as a second camera, but it
Okay,
will be my
okay.
workhorse camera, my new
Thought it was
workhorse
gonna be
camera,
like
because
your B camera.
no. Uh, because I don't have to worry about the overheating. Now, I have been very lucky with my S7 IV. I had one overheating issue, but I was overheating. It was super hot. It was not fun where I was filming. I use the Ulanzi fan that he always talks about, and honestly, it helped right away, and I was still able to do my shoot. I think I was delayed for like maybe a minute and a half. By the time I took it out of my bag, hooked it back up, I turned off my camera, got the fan, put it on, boom, it worked instantly. So anyway, that's what I shoot with, and what I put my gear in. And I'll let you go before we go into everything that's in my bag, but I'll let you you catch up now. So did you
So
have
you
time to
catch your
look
breath.
at the name of your bag while I was rambling on, or no?
Not at all. I figured
Not at all.
I was too. I was listening to you, and yeah, everything else just disappeared. But no, I don't remember the name. But it's not like a very well known brand or anything. But the bag itself, I mean, to me, like it's just I'm not like I've mentioned on this podcast a couple times. Like I'm not super concerned or scared with having like these overprotected like compartments and making sure that like there is one that is more of a solid sort of thing with a bit of cushioning inside. Is This is usually where I put my second camera, but yeah, as long as I can fit all my stuff, which is not that much, because like I like to be minimalist. When I'd rather have a bag that's not too heavy, not too big, that I can just keep on my shoulders, so that my camera doesn't get stolen. So I just keep everything on my backpack, and just in my backpack, just keep it on me, and just do my day with it. And so that's why I try to keep it small, and not too full. Like it's just when I have to bring a laptop, that's when it becomes, if you spend your entire day with, like I've got the Tamron 35 to 150, for example, that's fairly heavy, and if you add a laptop to that, yeah, it can be a long day. But other than that, yeah. Anyway, all that to say that camera wise, that was a long detour. My main camera is an FX3. That's why I was a bit offended when I thought you were saying that you were using it as your B camera.
No, I'm gonna buy a second camera.
But yeah, so it is my main camera, and I still think it is really, if today I was buying a camera, well, like you just said, like I think it would still be this one. Like I don't really see any other cameras that would make me, that have things that I don't have on the FX3, or that I wish would be done better, or anything like that. The only thing that the FX3 doesn't have that would make my life a little bit easier is internal ND filters. That obviously would be awesome, especially that like on the FX6, for example, the internal NDs are like electronic, so they can like automatically adjust. You don't have to, because normally it's like you have to switch it manually. So every time you change by like a couple stops, and it makes like a huge difference. So like when you're on the go, running and gunning, like if you switch, like there's a big switch, where with the electronic ones, it's just gradually like just seamless, basically that transition. So I wish I had that, but not most people don't have it, so it's not like a thing that like, oh, I can't believe I don't have that on my camera. And I'd rather not have that and have stabilization instead than the other way around, which is the case on the FX6. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the FX3, and I also like the fact that it's not too big, because when it's smaller, people don't like when you're walking around behind the scenes, or you're walking in an arena or places where maybe your accreditation is, you know, maybe not necessarily supposed to let you get there or film the people around there. Like when you got a smaller camera, people don't really look at it twice. Where if you got like a big rig, then all of a sudden everybody's looking at you like, whoa, hold on, what are you filming? Should you be here? All that sort of stuff. It's more intimidating. So there's a lot more questions to answer, but when you have like a smaller camera, it's a bit easier to just fly under the radar sort of thing. And it's also easier to just walk around and shoot people when you're doing like crowd shots. I'd like to have like a smaller kit that I can easily get, and the backpack is a big part of that as well. Because when you have like a big backpack, you don't want to, been bumping into people all the time. So if you have a small backpack, just a small camera and a little tripod or nothing, like it's just easier to get a lot of different shots, to go in the stairs and the stands and stuff, and just get a lot of shots. Maybe sit down if there's an empty seat, you get a few shots from that angle, do all that, and then yeah. So I like the smaller kits. So all that to say that the FX3 is my main camera, but I typically also have an FX30 in my bag just in case something goes wrong. So the FX30 is obviously same camera as the FX3, but with an APS-C, like a crop sensor, and because having two FX3 would have been a bit overkill, because I don't really use the second camera that much. I mainly use it for my YouTube channel to do like behind the scenes content, but yeah, as the FX3 is perfect because it's not as good as the FX3, but if something did happen, the FX30 would be more than capable of doing professional work. So I keep it as my second camera, and if I need like a second angle for something, let's say there's a big intro presentation before the game, and I want to be on my 70 to 200 millimeter lens to capture close-ups of it, well, I can just put my little FX30 on the little tripod wide angle lens and just have like a full shot of what's going on. So it's good for that. You could always I'm thinking of eventually doing what I've seen people do when I go to football games, which is have it like, attached to my hip or something, or like my backpack, so that it's ready to go with a lens on it, a wide lens on it, so that when you're like, let's say you're behind the touchdown zone, and you can be on your main camera, which has the long lens on it, but when action actually arrives right up next to you, you can pull up the wider lens camera ready to go, and you start shooting with that one. So I'm thinking of trying to do that probably next football season. Um, Not really relevant to basketball at the moment, but yeah, for football, I'd like to try that, to have my second camera ready to go. But it is more work, more stuff to carry, which goes against everything I believe in. But I think it will definitely help for for the end result.
So I do have 4 other cameras in my bag.
Jesus.
Uh, I have two GoPros, my drone, and then my latest edition, the DJI Pocket 3.
Ooh, was that a Christmas gift?
Yeah, it was a Christmas gift to myself.
Ah.
I know I've been waiting to pull the trigger on it for a while, and I actually got to use it at the World Juniors. So it's funny because when you were saying you want to keep your other camera like by your pocket, well, kind of like attached to your hip, I had the Pocket 3 in my pocket, and I would pull it out whenever I want to do gimbal shots. So I've only had it for a little bit, right? So I haven't fully tested it, but so far I'm really happy with it. Um, I filmed for about an hour and a half with it. The only thing was the battery grip got a little hot, but I have the extended battery grip. But it was kind of nice because it was kind of cold out, so it was warmed up my hands at the same time. But that was like my second camera, and I the reason why I got that camera is because I think it's a good camera for vlogging, and that's something that I said I would start doing later on in the new year. So that's the reason why I pulled the trigger. But for sports, that is a good wide angle camera. And you can even have tracking on it, so you can track certain people. Has a little tripod on it, so you can leave it, like, say, on a bench or on the ground, and you can have it track you for behind the scenes stuff, or you can have it track, players, or you can use that as your wide shot and use your other camera for a close up.
I got a question about the tracking actually.
Yeah.
Like, how good is that tracking when there's like multiple people? Like, I understand that you like make like a square or something around the
Yeah.
person that you want to track. But if all of a sudden that person is interacting like a football game where there's like people getting in the way and there's 5 or 6 people in your frame, is it able to still like stick to that one guy?
I didn't have any issues, with it, but like I said, I only used it for, like, an hour, hour and a half. So it's something that honestly, I'd have to test more, but it seems pretty good. But I can it's like anything, like, even on your RS4 or RS3, right? Once you get too many people in the frame, I'm sure it's gonna have that same issue. But then it's up for me to either readjust that, or I'll have to cut that clip at that point in my edit. But it's really lightweight. The quality is great. It shoots 4K 60, so I'm already shooting in 60, so that's pretty good. You could do 1080 up to 240 with it. So it's really versatile. It comes with an extra wide angle lens and shoots a 10-bit log. So I mean, it checks a lot of boxes, and it comes with the mic too, right? And the mic, as soon as you turn on the mic, it's already synced to that camera. So that's why I feel like it's perfect for vlogging. So even for you, E, with your YouTube channel, and that it might be a good option to you could place it, you could put on yourself, and track yourself with it. Anyway, that's the reason why I pulled the trigger. Now the GoPros I have in my bag, those are little workhorses. Like, I put those in tight places. I put those in, like, I don't have to worry about them if I'm recording action, or I always use them for time lapse. The reason why I use them for time lapse, they're a lot easier uh, on a camera than, say, on my Sony, where the Sony's using the shutter constantly. That's where I use those GoPros all the time. And I've mentioned before, GoPro has a really good replacement package. So if I've already replaced a broken GoPro, no hassles, no nothing. As long as you're within the first year, they will send you a new GoPro. So if my GoPros do break, they're under warranty. They're covered. I'm getting a new one back, so I'm not worried about that. So I'll put them in end zones or behind nets, or low angle on the floor in a basketball game, stuff like that. Like, I'm not worried if something happens to them. Where if you have your mirrorless camera, you don't want to take those chances. So I feel like it's really good, and especially if you're trying to catch behind the scenes footage, they're really reliable. I mean, you could put on auto settings even. The colors are pretty decent. You could tweak them a bit later on in post, but it's going to capture everything you need without you having to worry about that camera. Now, in the past, there was some overheating issues with them. As of now, I usually shoot at 4K 60 on my GoPros, and they're pretty good. And I'll film a whole hockey game. What I do is I just change the battery every period, just because the batteries dies after an hour anyway.
I may have footage of that.
Very good. Very good. So those are the other camera, and then I have the Mini Pro 3 as my fourth camera in my bag, which drone shots, come on. There's nothing better than a drone shot to establish where you are.
Yeah, but when you use a drone like at events, do you tell, do you ask permission? Like, what's that process?
Well, first I ask when they hire me, like, hey, do you want a drone shot? Because not everybody wants one, right? Events are a little harder, obviously. Like, say if you're going to the Bell Center before a game to film with a drone, it's tricky. Well, I mean, I have the 249 grams, so I don't have to worry about getting flagged or getting told, like, you can't use it in the space. It's more like, do you want to take that chance if something goes wrong with all those people around it? So my suggestion is, if you're going to do a building or something like that, go the day before. Okay, you're not going to get the crowd, but if you're just filming the building and that, go the day before and get those shots before your event, because it's really hard to do an event, especially if you're like a solo shooter like you and I are,
Hmm.
to go and do drone and set up GoPros and
Yeah.
have my Pocket 3 ready. So I try to maximize it. Like, hopefully they have a budget where I can go down the day before, get establishing shots and all that stuff before. Unless they want crowd walking in and they have specific shots, well, then that changes it. But if it's a shot of the building or a flyby, then it doesn't have to be, the event doesn't have to be on. I can get it the day before or the day after.
Makes sense.
Because I always do have nightmares of crashing my drone into people, because that's the only thing that can go wrong with the drone is you crash it. And I don't mind crashing a building or the drone breaks, fine, it's all part of flying, but you never want to,
Well, these days, I don't know about yours, but like most of them have like sensors all around. So like to crash it, yeah, you have to be a bit unlucky. I think on the side, sometimes they don't. So if you're going like you're doing like not a pan, but like, yeah, when you're tracking sort of from left to right, I did run into a wall once.
you just ran into your microphone with your hands. So
Yeah, exactly. See, I'm not even in control of my own hands. So imagine a drone. That's why I don't have one.
So my drone had an update not too long ago. So on the DJI, you could do like a circle. It's programmable shot. It goes to 30 frames or 24 frames, and it does a circle, right? Now there's this big warning saying like, okay, you better watch your circle because we can't see everything on the side now. So I guess there's been issues, but every model has more and more safety features. So they're getting safer and safer. So like from the 3 to the 4, I didn't upgrade to the 4 because the camera didn't upgrade. The only thing that upgraded was the sensor. So I said, I'll take my chances with the sensors. I'll wait till there's a camera upgrade and then I'll upgrade mine. But that drone, honestly, it's a bit pricey when you first buy it, like, $1,000 to $1,300, depending on what remote control you get. But it paid for itself right out of the gate. So I have the Mini Pro 3.
All right, that's right.
Yeah, but they paid for itself right out the gate. I got what is it? It's a combo pack, so it came with like 3 batteries and a case and that. Because DJI is big on giving cases with everything.
Yeah.
But I actually use that case a lot for when I go to quick shoots and I throw GoPros in it and stuff. So it is handy. But I love that drone and I'm really, really happy I bought it, and it really added value to my production.
Well, I don't have any more cameras.
It's the most fun I have with a camera. You don't have an action cam or anything? You don't have like
Oh, I have one. I have a GoPro somewhere in my in my thing, and I've got a what's it called, like the 360 Go 2. But I never used them. I never used them. I've used them in the past, but I never use them now. I don't bring them to games or anything like that. Well, the Instago 2 was mostly for as a like first person type shot that I would put it here and use it for my
you don't
YouTube
have the
videos.
hat clip.
Yeah, I do have that one too. I just rarely wear hats outside of this podcast. but yeah, the GoPro, well, mine is a bit unreliable. Like sometimes it stops recording by itself, so I don't really trust it. But I probably would use it if there was a reason for it. But typically when I'm filming sports, there's no particular reason for me to be using an action cam. So yeah, I never bring it with me. It's one camera, a second backup just in case. That's it. I travel light. Told you, I'm not messing around.
Because you never take off your backpack either. I've seen you. Your backpack never comes off, man.
Yeah. Well, if there is like a proper camera room, I'll probably leave my stuff there. But if it's just like leaving it on the floor next to something and then hoping that nothing happens, it's a different. Yeah. I don't trust. I've got trust issues. I've been hit before. Not in this context, but yeah, I've had robberies.
Well, that's it. Gear's expensive, right? And people see that you have the gear, so you have to be careful with your gear. So if you had a camera to add to your bag, what would you add that's not too heavy or too big? Since you're a minimalist.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't. Like, to me, 2 cameras is plenty. Because, like you said, regarding the drone, it's like when you have too much things going on, you know, you only have so many hands and so many, and all these things are all attached to your phone, so you can't really control like 3 of them at once. And it's like, so like the drone, I'm sure the Osmo and the GoPro and the drone, they all somehow related to your phone, so it's not like you can control all of them just simultaneously. So to me, I'd rather be like, I'd rather have like do one thing really well, maybe have a second thing going on the side, but other than that, it just becomes too much, and I feel like the rest sort of starts to suffer if I try to spread myself too thin. So yeah, I'd rather just stick with two, honestly. And if there's someone there to help me, then it's a different story. But yeah, no, I'm happy with what I have.
I want to add an Insta 360 X4. Now, I want to get it more for personal reasons. Like I want to play with it more than anything, and then see if I can offer that service to clients. But I think it would be cool because, especially for like behind the scenes stuff, I think it can give you a different perspective and give you some first shooter views and stuff. Even for you, for your YouTube, you know how people always show while they're filming, you see their camera, you see their images and
I
stuff.
know Peter uses that on his kit when he's shooting at events to have like the behind the scenes stuff. Because in that sense, because with my sort of the thing that's holding me from buying a camera like that is that, like, for his thing, like the camera, you know, the angle that you're gonna go for after it, so like you point, because the thing is, in post production with a 360 camera, there's a fair amount of extra work involved where you have to, you know, point the camera where you want it actually. If your end result is going to be like a 16:9 shot, like you have to tell in post production like which way you actually want to show, because the camera's 360. Obviously you can't show all of that in that 16:9. So you're basically doing all the framing in post production. So if you're following action like sports, then it's going to be a lot of work involved. But if you're just pointing it in one direction and that's it, you don't have to move it after that, then yeah, that's cool. But yeah, for sports, I think it's a good fell. You know, it's a good backup if you want to make sure that, like, if you didn't capture something, the 360 camera will capture it for sure. In that sense, I like it.
They've come a long way, right? Because so they used to be like 4K, but the problem was it was 4K all around. So then when you went into your spot, that spot wasn't 4K. So now they made it 8K. So when you actually pick your frame, you're back to 4K. So it has improved image wise. So I think it's something definitely to look at and to think about, because it can bring some value to more behind the scenes or more fun shots. Like you can plan stuff with it, right? Or say, okay, I want to try and do that. Like you see a lot of stuff where I see guys doing like these crazy diving from high spots, and what they do is they just tossed the GoPro, the Insta 360 with them, and then you can catch it the whole time, because in the software now you can have tracking, so the camera will adjust to that person. But like you said, it's an extra step. It's an extra editing step. So you're editing your raw clips before you bring it into your project to have, you know, that subject in focus or that subject in frame. So it is a little bit extra work, but it is something that could add some value. Now, in your minimalist kit, what lenses are you bringing with you? What are your go-to lenses that you have in your bag?
Now we're cooking. Well, that's the thing that sorry, the 35 to 150 I was talking about earlier is always annoying me because it's so heavy, so big, it takes so much space in my bag. And just for that, I hate it. I bring it every time because it's the perfect sort of, it's the most versatile lens I own. I can use it for indoors, outdoors. You know, it's good for everything. It's got a low aperture, even like if you're at 35 millimeter, it's because it's f2 to 2.8. So if you're a wider shot, you can go all the way down to f2. Like, it's a great lens. Boy, it's big. So I've got a love hate relationship with it, and there's no stabilization on it too. So yeah, if I can use a stabilized lens and not compromise my framing too much, my composition, then I'll obviously prioritize that. But sometimes it's such a versatile lens that's usually, especially indoors, that's definitely the one that's in my camera the most. um I do bring, if I always, if I'm filming indoors, I'm definitely not bringing my Sony 70 to 200 f2.8 G master lens. I only bring it for outdoor sports. So like if I'm filming football, that will be the lens that's on my camera. It's got stabilization. It's like super sharp, super everything. And I actually bought that lens when I moved from Australia, because the idea was that first of all I sold a bunch of stuff. So because it's a very expensive lens, I think it's like $3,000. But but I sold a bunch of stuff, and it was like if I use a camera that has stabilization in it plus a lens that has stabilization in it, um, then I won't need tripods and all these other things. I'll just sort of run and gun handheld, and that's what I've been doing ever since, basically. Although recently I started using a gimbal a lot more, but that's more for indoors. I don't know if I would use a gimbal for football. I'll have to try it, but so far I haven't done it. But yeah, so the 70 to 200 definitely for outdoors. 35 to 150, I bring it to both, even though most of the time outdoors I don't really use it. But it's more like pregame. If I have to film a lot of stuff pregame, I can use it. And I also like to bring like a, just because I have like a Tamron. Is it 17 to, I want to say 17 to 28? Yeah, 17 to 28 f2.8. So I used to bring that one just for establishing shots, or again pre-game if I want to get up close, or I know I'm going to be filming a huddle at some point or something like that. I'll have that on me, ready to go. But since then, I've got a 24 and a 35 like Sony prime lenses, and like they're G Master. They're pretty good. So I bought them more for what we're doing now and for my YouTube videos. Like it's more when I'm sitting in for my talking head stuff. But I do like, sorry, I do like to bring the 24 now instead of bringing the 70 to 28, because I figure like might as well, if I'm doing like a wide shot, I'll be on the 24, then I'll be able to play with the aperture, go really low if I want to, and yeah, it just looks a little bit better, you know. So now typically it's one sort of super wide lens, my 35 to 150, and then I'll bring the 70 to 100 if I'm filming outdoors. That's usually my go-to. I'll let you go, and then afterwards I can talk a bit about the lenses that I would like to maybe not buy, but at least try this year.
Well, I got two takeaways from that. First of
Okay.
all, Tamron is not sponsoring any of your videos because you said you have a love-hate relationship with the 35 150. And
It's true. It is the one I use the most, though.
for a guy who packs light with all those lenses, it doesn't sound like you're packing too light, buddy.
Well, it's because the main camera and the main lens don't get in the bag. You
Oh
remember,
yeah,
I don't
it's
pack
true.
them. I just carry them separately. So really, I just have a couple lenses in my bag. Even maybe just one if I'm filming indoors.
Now, actually, I used your Sony 24 when I filmed you when you were at hockey. I did some behind the scenes
Oh
stuff
yeah,
for you.
yeah.
I really liked that lens, actually. I thought it was really, really good. I never used that lens before. It's really sharp. The bokeh on it was really, really good. And it has stabilization, right?
No, it doesn't. But it's just so
No?
wide that it feels like it
It
does.
feels like stable. Yeah, because it was pretty smooth. Like I went right up to your screen, pulled back. I
Yeah.
really liked it, and it's light lens, so it felt really good. I'm fairly simple. I have two lenses I bring with me, my two workhorse lenses. They're both Tamron 17 to 28, 28 to 75. The reason why I have two of them, I've already explained. When I go to 60, I'm a
Mm.
crop, so it's like I have four lenses, really, right? The 17 to 28. I use it for all my establishing shots. I like it. Yes, there's no stabilization in it, but my little hack is one of the accessories I do use that I actually just started reusing. I used to use it and I stopped using it, is my Peak Design straps. So,
Oh,
they
okay.
just clip on, clip off. So
Yeah.
I found myself, because when I'd go to film hockey and stuff, I always had my camera and I had to put it down and, in between breaks. And then sometimes you're watching the action and you're higher or you're lower. So now I just use my straps and I put it out. I'm nice and stable. When I'm done, yes, because I have a screen, a monitor, it hangs down a little bit, but you just hold it up. It's fine. But I find it really helps me be stable. Now, the reason I'll go back to those lenses, why I use those two lenses, it makes it simpler for me is filters. They're both a 67 millimeter thread.
Yeah, that's cool when they're all the same size. Yeah.
Exactly, because that's the issue, right? If you have, like, if I were to get the 35 to 150, which honestly I do love that lens, but the first time you use that lens, you're like, oh my god, it's heavy. It's probably one of the heaviest lenses I've ever used,
Oh yeah, for sure.
but the thread's different on it. So that means I gotta either get. I should, when you buy filters, buy the bigger size and just get the rings for it. That's what you should do. I did not do that. I got the filters for the lenses that I use, so I'm kind of stuck. Either have to buy bigger filters or trade them.
Yeah, I had to go through that because I had like the Tamron trilogy, like the 70 to 28, 28 to 75, and then the 70 to 180. So it was all 67. I bought 67 millimeter filters. Life was good. But then when I bought the like 35 to 150 Tamron is 82 millimeter thread, I think. And then my 70 to 200 is a 77 millimeter thread. So I wasn't going to buy two more sets. It's a bit intense, especially the variable indies that I have are not cheap. So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna have to buy the step up rings for that. But it's always annoying because like if you get it too tight, getting the filter off the step up ring, like it can get a bit tricky sometimes. So yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah.
It is
Well,
what it
that's why they
is.
have the new Helix system, right? Like Polar Pro has. So basically, your step up ring stays on. It's a magnet, and the filters just snap on magnet wise. But they're a lot more expensive, and they're Peter McKinnon ones, so they're pricey. Um, Maybe that's something I'm gonna do when I get my B cam, my FX3, my B cam. But that's the idea. And anyway, back to those lenses. I'm really happy with those lenses. Like, I really feel like it covers a good focal range, whether you're doing sports, whether you're doing corporate stuff. And for some reason, if I don't have enough range, say like a 200 millimeter, like you have,
Yeah, I
well,
was
then
gonna
I'm
say you
gonna.
don't have like a telephoto
No,
lens.
no, no, no. Well, because when I film sports, I'm usually doing it for broadcast. So I haven't really needed that big lens. And if I'm filming hockey or basketball, I don't really need that the 200 millimeter. So that's why I've never really purchased it. I have used one before. I do actually have one. But I just never carry it in my bag. Yeah, it's a 28 to 200, but it's a 5.6.
All right.
I
Well,
just
it's a variable
never
aperture. So.
Yeah, I just never ever use it. But it has like an electronic zoom in it that you can use too, and it works on the Sony camera. It's actually from a FX 700, the lens. FS. Is that what it is? Yeah, FS 700, not
Yeah,
X.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
FS
Yeah,
700.
definitely FS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do have it if I do need it. It's just I never use it. I've tested it before. Image is actually really good on it. It's really sharp. It's just for my everyday camera bag, I don't need to put it in, so I don't include that in my kit. I don't want to be
No.
like you and have multiple lenses, just ready to go all the time.
No, but like for me, it's more about you don't want to be stuck in a situation where I just can't get wide enough to capture what's in front of me. But sometimes you have to remember, like, oh, I'm shooting in 4K 120. Let me just go back to 60, and let's say there's things that you can do to get a wider shot that you forget in the moment because you think your framing is your framing, but then when you think about it, oh yeah, there's ways to make this wider. But yeah.
Or you just back up more. Okay, I'm gonna have to take 15 steps back if you
Well, it
can.
depends. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
if you
When you're
can.
filming basketball, for example, if you're filming from the baseline, there's usually not that much space behind you. There's probably a wall or people, so you can't really take any steps back. And so if you're trying to capture players like driving to the basket, then maybe you either change your lens or, like I said, maybe you go down from 120 to 60 to just get like a wider, or even to 24, depending on the camera, where the crop actually starts. Yeah, going lower frame rates will usually give you a wider shot. So yeah, there's all these things that you can do that might help, and not so that you don't have to switch lenses. But I like to have that option, that if I realize that like a wider lens will give me a better shot, then I like to have the option and not regret being stuck with what I have. So So yeah, I do have like a two or three. But like I said, because my main camera kit is outside of the bag, I don't mind having a couple lenses, a couple extra lenses on my. And also, I've got the second camera, so if I ever decide to use it as a B cam, then I need to have a lens ready to go for it. You know.
You, you do need to shoot wide though, especially covering sports. If you're going to be editing reels, it's more it gives you more advantages to shoot wide because you can just keyframe the action later on. Because even though my reels are vertical, I'm still shooting horizontal. Where some people do shoot vertical for vertical, but I just find it too hard to track everything that it's just I've been for so long working one way that turning the camera I have done it before for reels, like talking head reels, stuff like that that people want, but for sports action that I have a hard time, when my camera is vertical. So I rather just stay wider, a bit wider, and then you're editing in 1080 anyway, so you can come in a little bit on that 4K image, and you can zoom in. So wide is good. And if you're not using slow motion, you don't need the higher frame rate. Because if you're doing a quick sports reel, you don't have time to do slow motion. So you can shoot it at 24. And we've had this debate before, and everyone assumes that in sports you have to shoot at the highest frame rates. You don't have to. You have to know where your video is going, and you can get away with 24 and 30 for sure. And then you don't have to worry about the crops, and you'll be wide enough.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, it's
just
a good
my
point.
two cents.
No, it's a good point.
What's your go-to audio in your bag right now?
Well, I'm just gonna say real quick, like regarding lenses that I thought maybe I try this year. There's the well, first of all, if you're shooting APS-C, there's a 17 to 70 millimeter Tamron that's f2.8 as well. Then that has stabilization. So that's it's a wide range. It's got stabilization in it. It's f2.8, constant aperture. Like it's the perfect lens for indoor sports at the very least. Maybe even outdoors. Probably you could use a bit more zoom, but for indoors it's awesome. It's an APS-C lens, so you can't use it on the full frame camera, and it's much cheaper though. I think it's like $700. Where if you had the same thing for full frame, it would be 3 times that price for sure. So yeah, that would be one that I'd like to try out. And there's also a Sigma like 60 to 600 millimeter. Like I always think that like when people like ask like a because a lot of people like reach out to me because they film soccer and things like that, but they don't really want to move around too much. So they want like close-ups and like, oh, should I get like a 100 or 400 or a 200 or 600? And I always think it's overkill. Like you don't need to be able to like zoom into every player's face at all time. But but I do think like 60 to 600, it's such a wide range and it covers everything. Um, so and it's got stabilization. So because obviously at 600 millimeter, you would need some type of stabilization. You probably still need to be on a tripod at that point, but yeah, I would be curious, and it's literally in the name. It's like it's f4.5 to 5.8 or 5.6 or something like that, and it's like there's a bunch of letters after that, and then it's like a sports lens. Like the word sports is actually in the name of the lens. Like it's made for sports and wildlife. So so yeah, I would be very curious to try that lens for football and see what I can get out of it, because 60 is not too far off 70, but it's still a bit wider. So and 600 is obviously way tighter than 200. So yeah, I'd love to try that. We'll see what happens. I'll give Sigmar a call. I don't
That's it.
know
That's
him.
it.
I don't have any contacts over there, but if anyone from Sigma is watching this, yeah, let's do something together.
That's it. Read in the description below for ease contacts.
Yeah, exactly.
So I actually would go in a different direction for the lens that I want to add to my bag this year. I want to get the new Sony G Master 50 millimeter 1.4. And you're probably saying, why would you want that for sports? I want that. I want that for my hero shots. I want that for my interview shots, my close-ups of when I'm doing athletes, whether it's in the locker room, whether it's them training, stuff like that. That's what I want that for the story building aspect of it. And I would use it also in my corporate stuff for talking heads. I feel like 50 millimeter is probably the most flattering lens for your face, like, proportional wise in it. And 1.4, like, you can't get any better than that for a background for a bokeh. So it is pricey, but I would buy that for that purpose. Like that lens is coming out when I got interviews, when I'm doing behind the scenes stuff with players, like training stuff, hero shots, and all that. That's why I would add that. Not so much for game footage. I wouldn't use it really for game filming. I mean, I could, I guess, if the action would be close enough, or if I can get close enough to the action. But that's something that I want to add to my bag, and it has stabilization also. So you can always throw it on a gimbal. You could set up, some establishing shots, say of banners or scoreboards or fans. That's where I would use that lens. But that's the one that has caught my eye. That's come out. I think came out like 2-3 months ago. It's pricey though. It's up there in price, but I feel like it's a really great lens, and I feel like it will bring value to my work. It's not no 600 millimeter.
Oh yeah, no, but I like it like for indoors. Like like I've shot a couple of basketball games with like a gimbal and stuff, and I think I used a 35 mil a couple times, but 50 would be good too.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it's expensive, so it's an investment for that lens. I mean, the thing with the G Master series is the quality you're getting. They have stabilization, constant aperture, so it's an investment. But once you have that lens, you're gonna love. I'm sure I'm gonna love that lens. So that's what I will be adding to my bag this year for sure, for sure. All right. So now audio. What are you using for audio?
Well, my shotgun microphone, because I have an FX3, so it's an XLR microphone. It's not really in my camera bag because, like I said, my kit is separate. I just carry it with me. But it's an Deity Mic 2S or something like that, I think it's called. It's a short, sort of, it's probably this long, which is what I like about it because XLR shotgun mics can be very long. If you go like the road, like NTG 3, 4, and 5, like they're super long, so they tend to, like on a small camera, it just feels like it's way too big. So this one is like half the size, same quality. It's really good for shotgun, for run and gun type of audio work. Really good quality. And yeah, so I use that on my camera, and to be honest, if I'm just filming a game and I know that I'm not going to be shooting any interviews or anything like that, for audio, that's it. That's all I'm bringing. If I am going to an event or a game where I'll be there all day and we might do some interviews before or after, then I'll bring my DJI mic kit, which is just this little charger box with the receiver and two transmitters inside of it, and I have a little pouch where I have like a couple of lavalier mics and all the little, the cables and the little things that come with the kit. So yeah, I'll bring that, but only if I know that there's a chance that I might do an interview or we might do like something with the fans, like a Q&A, when you go in the you ask fans like who's your favorite player or whatever it is. So I'll bring it, but yeah, that's it. Pretty easy.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar. So I have the Rode Video Mic 2 attached to my camera. It's not XLR. It just plugs into the audio jack. And then I have the DJI mic kit also. But since I got the Pocket 3, it came with the mic kit too, one of the receivers. So when I got it, I was like, "Oh, perfect. Does it work with the mic kit 1?" The answer is no. It does not. It does not. It works on its own. Or if I bought another kit, I can have it as a third microphone. That one is 32-bit float. So I have been testing a little bit. It seems pretty good. Like it's not really capping. If you scream into it in that, I mean, I'll have to do some more tests on it. But that is in my bag with my Pocket 3. But I think I'm going to upgrade to the mic Series 2 now, if it is what I think it is, because I mean, hey, if you don't have to worry about ever peaking too much, it's just one less issue to worry about, right? Because when you're on a shoot, there's constantly problems. You're constantly trying to fix stuff and that. I do always keep it in my bag, like no matter what, even if I'm not doing interviews and that. Because the one time I didn't put it in my bag when I was not supposed to do interviews, I had to do interviews, and I did it with a shotgun mic. It was fine. It's just it took a lot of work after in post to get out the background noise and all that stuff. Even though it's a shotgun mic, it still picks up, the noise around. But yeah, I always just leave it in my bag. It's so small anyway. It doesn't really weigh much. But that I used to have the Rode Wireless 2 set, and I switched to DJI because of the charging case. Because the first Rode Wireless 2 set did not have a charging case. Now the 32-bit one has a charging case. I do prefer the DJI over the Rode just because of being familiar with in that. Both of them do the same thing pretty much, but I am more used to the DJI menu in that now just from using it. But I mean, if I was going to buy one,
Yeah, from the drone to the Osmo, now the mics, you sound like a bit of a DJI
I got a
fanboy.
Rode mic right here. I do love DJI though. Honestly, like DJI makes good gear. And personally, I've never had a problem with any of my DJI stuff. If I had issues, then maybe I would be willing to change. I mean, I did have one issue one time on a shoot with a DJI mic where my receiver wouldn't start. It just wouldn't go on. So I just recorded the interview blind pretty much with the recording on the mic.
On the transmitter.
Yeah, which was scary as hell. And then I found out all you have to do is hold down the button for 30 seconds. It resets itself and everything's fine.
Whether it's Rode or DJI, like they're both great mics. And
Yeah, it's just my preference, you know?
Yeah, and Rode I think is a bit more complicated in terms of like getting the files out of it. I don't know if it's still like that, but like the first version was like you needed to go on the computer and export each file and things like that. Where DJI, you would just like drag and drop sort of thing.
Yeah, DJI is like a memory card when you plug it in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Where the Rode, you have to have their software to
Yeah.
view the stuff.
And export like clip by clip. Like at least if it was just like a batch export, it wouldn't be too bad. But it's like you had to do like every clip like one by one. It's just like was a bit of a mess. But Rode are Australian, so I kind of like
Oh, okay. It's
have a sweet spot.
close to your heart, eh, bud?
Although I don't think I've ever bought anything from them just because of that. But it's like Black Magic is Australian as well. I used to drive by their building all the time, never bought anything from them, which is a bit sad. But yeah.
I have the Blackmagic speed editor because it came with my DaVinci Resolve. And I used it for the first little bit and then I never use it. Now it just sits back here on my shelf. I don't even know if you guys can see it, but it is there. But yeah, I don't have anything Blackmagic. I am going to get the Blackmagic Raw camera app though for my iPhone 16 Pro because it's supposed to be pretty good for it. So I will try that out also. Anyway, for my camera bag, that's pretty much what I have, except for accessories. Do you have any accessories that you carry?
Yeah, I was gonna say like well, I tend, especially if it's gonna be a long day, I'll use a V mount battery. So I'll have a V mount battery, but again, it's stuff that's already on my camera. That's not really in my bag, but I'll have the V mount battery with the attachment, obviously. I'll still have a few batteries just in case something goes wrong, and if I need to use the other camera, then I need batteries to go for that. But also my cameras both use the same battery, so it's from that perspective, it's good, easy to manage. I'll have, if I'm filming outdoors, I'll definitely have variable NDs. I'll always bring like just a mist filter just in case. I don't always use it, especially at basketball. Like I'll put it on early to see what it looks like, and if I don't like the look of the lights and things, like if it's just too bloomy and weird, I'll just take it off. But outdoors, actually, my VNDs are like the mist edition. So outdoors, there's always a bit of mist involved in my in my look, in my camera look. But yeah, I'll definitely have VNDs with me. I think that's about it. Like I said, like if I need my computer, I'll bring it because sometimes if I'm shooting for a school or something like the football stuff that I used to do, um, I'll bring my laptop and the hard drive. Well, sure, I don't really need the hard drive because what I do is I just copy it straight. I'll copy my cards straight to their stuff, so that way I don't have to bother. When I get home, I'm done. I don't have to keep going. But yeah, you know, a little something to clean the lens. That's about it. Trying to think like step up rings if I need them. Yeah, that's it.
I have a couple of GoPro accessories or action cam accessories that I keep in my bag all the time. So I have the small rig, it's a suction cup. Um, and it's a suction cup kind of like on a magic arm, so you can kind of place it anywhere you want. So I use that. It's pretty handy, you know, you can stick it to a glass, to walls, whatever. So I have that in my bag. I also bought this Ulanzi, it's like a monopod, but and I put my action cameras on that. So it's about 12 inches long and it goes to about 6.5 feet high. And I'll throw my GoPro on that and I'll leave that for like time lapses and that. And it's not too bad. Or if I travel, I'll use that and I'll put my sometimes in my camera bag if I have to travel and do interviews. I have the Zion Molus 100X light. So it's the light's the size of your iPhone. So I put actually that light on that Ulanzi tripod. Now, it's probably the maximum weight that tripod should have, and it really depends on how high you put it because it gets a little teetery. But for traveling and for a camera bag, it's a nice option to have, especially if you're taking a plane and you got to put stuff in the overhead. So I do throw that in my camera bag from time to time. And then I have all the other basics like ND filters, cleaning cloths, extra batteries, extra memory cards, some gaffer tape.
Yeah, I don't really bring
Yeah.
extra memory cards, but I have two in my camera. So
I only have one extra memory card, and then the rest are action ones, action cameras. Because every time you buy a GoPro, the kits that I buy, they come with like a 64, 32 gig. So I probably have like 6 of those just extra in case. But the drone takes a memory card, 2 GoPros, now the Pocket 3. So I do have that's why I do have an extra abundance of memory cards, but 1 or 2 regular SDs I have.
oh, and I forgot to mention monitor as well. I do have a field
I'm
monitor.
using a Field World F5 monitor. What are you
I
using?
have that one, but I use the Portese LH7P, which is probably the question I'm getting the most in the last few months. Used to be the camera, now it's the monitor. Every time I put a video out that's talking about my camera and stuff, and you see close ups of my hands or me filming, every single time, oh, what's the monitor on your camera? I think because it's 7 inch, like it just takes, and the image is quite, bright and shiny and very colorful and stuff. So like it just draws like people's attention, just goes straight to it.
My Field World monitor. I like it, but I kind of cheaped out. Like I got it, it was only like $200 and it's good, but I have some regrets. Yeah, I have some regrets with it. Because first of all, there is no touch focus on it. And when I'm filming with my camera, it can only mirror my camera, but it won't show me the settings that are on my camera. At least the way I have it. So when I'm recording, I have to always look down at my little LCD to make sure I'm recording on the top one, which I find so frustrating because there are times where you're doing something fast and you think you're recording and you're not. So that's the only downfall I'd say about that monitor. The image quality is great. It looks really good. Just for a reference monitor or like when I use my for client work, when I use my teleprompter, I usually have a longer HDMI wire out of my camera, and my client, the one of the clients, can sit there with the little Fieldwood monitor and watch the scene, and they seem to really enjoy that. So I do that for them, but it's great for that way. And then they always ask me the same question, but why is the color so dull? I'm like, well, because I didn't put the LUT on. It's just straightforward. But I wish I would have maybe spent a little bit more on getting a better field monitor.
Yeah, because a lot of times you have to, if you want all that info, your exposure meter, your colors, all that, you basically have to mirror the what's in the LCD, but then on your monitor it comes out like in a sort of a 4:3 shape, and add on like bars at the bottom at the top where all that information is. So it's so small, it just defeats the purpose of having a field monitor. So you want to have the full screen experience and actually see what's going on. But then if you do that, yeah, you can't have all the info. It's just a clean image. So it's often one or the other.
I want to be able to just plug in my monitor and have everything that's on my little LCD available to me on
Yeah.
my monitor.
Well, that's what I get
That's
with the port keys. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll have to get one of those. Maybe they'll can give you another monitor to test, and I can get your old one. There you go. That'd be a good deal. I'll give you 2 banana breads for it.
Nice. Yeah, it's already that deal's getting better and better. I like it.
Anything else you want to add to your camera bag, E? Like, what's the one? Okay, let's go backwards. What's the one piece of equipment you regret buying for your camera bag, if any?
Regret? Not really. Like, I don't think I have any regrets because no, because yeah, probably in the past when I didn't really know what I was doing or how everything worked, but then with years, that's what I meant earlier when I said like it takes a few years to build your kit. Like you understand a bit more how lenses work, and you know which one to buy, which one's going to more work the best for you and your needs. And so I think I went through all that, in the beginning and even like throughout my career. But when I moved from Australia to Canada, and I really had to sort of, all right, get rid of everything I don't need and just buy maybe a couple things to make up for the things that I got that I sold, but just like build like a minimal sort of kit that can do pretty much everything. Like from that point on, I don't really have extras that I regret or anything. I just have everything I like, and everything I need, and everything has a purpose. Like all the extras are, to be honest, like things that I tested on my channel. Like I've got fans, I've got 2 or 3 fans, but I've got an FX3 and FX30. So, and I've got 2 or 3 field monitors, but I wouldn't have bought 2 or 3 if like I wouldn't never have bought 2 or 3. It just happened that these companies like sent me those monitors. Fortunately, it doesn't work that way with cameras. Like I always have to send those back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I don't really have like a thing that, if anything, it would be the GoPro that I told you earlier sometimes stops recording by itself. I kind of regret that. But yeah, other than that, nah, nothing. The only thing maybe I would, and I already talked about this, like the only thing I would add to my camera kit more often, I want to add to my camera kit, bring it with me more often, is a gimbal. Because I definitely don't want to be carrying a tripod with me, but a gimbal, I'm getting to the point now where I kind of like having that option. And maybe I film, like last time I filmed a basketball game, I did half of it with the gimbal, half without. I kind of like that. So I want to do that more. And yeah. What about you?
Well, yeah, because as you grow in this industry, your preferences change, right? So some of the little things that I've not regretted, but I've bought again is like different handles for my cage. Like even my top handle, I had this big bulky one for a while, and now I got a smaller one that has better grip and it fits my LCD monitor a little bit better where I want it. So it's little things like that I regret. I probably should have got the bigger ND filters when I bought the Polar Pros instead of getting the ones that fit my lenses. But when I get a second camera and I get different lenses, then I'll do that then. So my Tamron lenses, I have them. I'll buy a second set eventually. It's kind of a waste, but sometimes if you're filming with both cameras, you do need an ND on each one. So it is helpful
Exactly.
to have two. So there's things that I'm learning as I keep building my kit because I was very fortunate for years. I had a work kit, so they would supply everything I needed for it, and I wasn't so concerned about what I was using and what I wasn't using. now that it's my money and for my clients, now I'm very, very conscious of what I add to that kit. So, like you just said, gimbal work, right? So I used to put my gimbal in my camera bag all the time, and in your little tripod slash water bottle handle, well, that's where my gimbal would go. And it's great. But now I have little pocket three, so I'm going to try to maximize that instead of bringing my big gimbal. And then maybe eventually I'll sell my gimbal and move away from it, because I feel like your gear has a window. Like I have an RS3 gimbal, so within the next 6 months might be a good time to sell it, because there's the RS4, and then 6 months after that, maybe an RS5 will come out. Everything's always evolving, so I try to keep my equipment fresh and up to date. And that's something that you learn as you go too. Is like you don't have. I'll use a piece of gear as long as I can, but eventually every piece of gear you're going to have to update, because technology and all that comes eventually catches up. Now, I wouldn't switch my GoPro every year, but maybe every 3 years or 4 years, I would upgrade, because the technology, the imaging, maybe it's going to be in 10-bit log, stuff like that. Then I want to upgrade. So not so much mistakes or regrets. It's just constantly learning that this industry is forever evolving, and I'm trying to evolve or change with it. That's the only thing. That's what's hard. So I don't fall in love with any piece of equipment, but I did love that A7S3, and I do miss it. That was my favorite camera in the whole world.
Well, the good news is if you love that one, you're gonna adore your new FX3.
There you go. There you go.
Okay.
All right. So I guess that's it for our camera bags. But to our listeners, man, drop us a comment. Tell us what's in your camera bag, or tell us what we should add to our camera bag. Because
I like it.
you know what? Sometimes there's gear out there that we just never thought about using or thought about adding. So please drop us a message and let us know. And if you think, that we have too much in our bag or too little in our bag, we'd love to hear your comments.
Tell me what to do.
That's it. That's it. All right. Well, I guess that's it for this episode of Game Day Glare.
See you next week.
See ya.